we have some new character posters for everyone in Avengers Endgame, as well as an official runtime. All that and more. Blockbuster Breakdown starts right now. All right, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the show, Blockbuster Breakdown, episode 25. And Mike, we have a lot of new Avengers content to deal with. I am your host, Liam Crowley, joined alongside, as always, by Mike Gillis. Mike, how was your weekend? What is going on?
Oh, what's up, guys? Had a great weekend. Lots of busy rehearsal days, but I was happy to wake up this morning being granted with the faces of our beloved Marvel heroes.
Yeah, it was a great surprise this morning, checking my Instagram feed and just seeing character posters coming and coming. It didn't stop from Marvel because I think we have 40 character posters. I could be wrong, but they posted them on Instagram in batches of like 8 or 10, and we got them for our survived heroes and for our fallen heroes. We'll get into that in our first story, but we are going to always start with the box office recap. We just like to remind you guys on this show, Blockbuster Breakdown, we define blockbuster on this show as any movie that has that mainstream appeal and is typically based on extensive source material, a movie where the trailers alone, where the teasers for the trailers alone make you say, I need to go see that right now. That's the kind of movies we talk on this show, and we are going to start with our box office recap. All right, coming in at number one, no surprise really to any of us, is Jordan Peele's Us, making $71.1 million in its opening weekend with a production budget of just over $20 million. Astronomical number for Us. Number two, Captain Marvel, its first weekend out of the number one spot, making $34.2 million, dropping about 50%. Coming in at number three is Wonder Park, making $8.7 million, dropping 44%. Number four, 5 Feet Apart, making $8.5 million, dropping 35%. And rounding out the top five, still staying in the top five, is How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World, making another $6.5 million, dropping 29%, adding to its global box office of $490 million. All right, Mike, after looking at the top five, how impressed were you with Us's box office haul this past weekend?
Well, I was just super happy that a horror movie can boost itself up in a non-really horror movie season. Usually around Halloween's when that stuff shoots up to the top. But I think because of Get Out, it's just critical appeal, and then also Jordan Peele's everyone loves Jordan Peele. I think that's why Us is up there. Also, probably because it's one of the best reviewed movies of the year so far, correct?
Yes.
So I can't wait to see it. Hopefully I'll be seeing that by the end of the week, but I know you already saw it, and nothing else surprises me. I mean, Captain Marvel will stay up there because it's the biggest, superhero movie out right now, and they're always up in the top five. I don't think there's like a week without a superhero movie up in the top five.
Yeah, it does seem like that.
And the rest seems kind of to fill in fine.
Yeah, Us. Oh my God.
I still don't like how Lego Movie 2 is so below Tyler Perry's Medea Funeral, though. I feel like that's kind of not too good for
that does kind of irk me because the Lego Movie 2 did get good reviews, and it just didn't. I feel like the second one just took too long to release. They didn't capture the magic of the first one and capitalize on how critically acclaimed that one was. I think that they waited too long to release the sequel. But I got to talk about Us. I mean, $71 million its opening weekend for a horror movie, for a director. In his second feature film, he makes $70 million in its opening weekend. That is insane. Jordan Peele, I feel like this is a bit of like my big statement on Jordan Peele, is that he is quickly becoming one of the most must-see directors in Hollywood. There are only a few directors where having their name attached to the project alone makes people want to see that movie. The two I can name right now are Tarantino and Christopher Nolan. I feel like whenever they're on a project, no matter what the content is, it's going to attract people to see it. And Jordan Peele is quickly establishing himself as one of the most must-see directors.
And I've said this before, like, he's just going to become, like, one of the big directors. Like, he's going to become one of, like, the big names that you see in Hollywood who are making these creative, like, cool films.
And a genius move by CBS also to scoop him up for CBS All Access. He's going to be hosting a reboot of The Twilight Zone, and while I'm not a proponent of having, like, 20 different streaming services, he kind of makes The Twilight Zone, or just his involvement with CBS All Access alone, his involvement alone makes me want to get the service. So Very smart for CBS All Access to strike while the iron's hot. And the fact that they're launching this streaming service, I believe the first week of April. So that means they're really going to capitalize on this Jordan Peele Us hype and probably get a ton of subscribers.
Yeah, 100% true.
And then also what I want to talk about, Captain Marvel, still staying in strong. This movie, to use its tagline, higher, further, faster at the box office. $914 million worldwide. Are you kidding me? These Marvel movies, I remember when only the team-ups would make $1 billion, and then, your solo movies would make between 600 and 700 million. Now it just seems like anything with MCU attached, it's going to make $1 billion minimum. Black Panther made $1 billion. Avengers Endgame is going to make $1 billion in probably 2 weekends, if we're being honest. And I know Ant-Man and the Wasp kind of the exception, but kind of a lower down hero. But
if I could make a prediction, I think Endgame is probably going to become the highest grossing movie of all time. I think it's going to be at least in the top 5.
It's absolutely going to be in the top 5. The only issue is Avatar currently holds the one spot with $3.7 billion, and it stayed in theaters for around 9 months. And the big marketing appeal of Avatar was it was really the first 3D movie, and they really
first real D 3D.
Yeah, they really emphasized that you have to see it in theaters, and that's why that movie made so much money despite not being universally loved. And Avengers Infinity War made $2 billion at the box office. So I don't see Avengers doubling their box office haul, but I believe Endgame is a shoo-in to make at least $2 billion again. And actually, that will bleed very well into our first story. We can talk about another factor that's going to contribute to the box office, and that is the runtime. So recently, a graphic got posted, I believe it came from IMDb, saying that the runtime clocks in at 3 hours and 2 minutes. Now, Marvel has yet to confirm this, so that's why I'm hesitant to believe that it's officially 3 hours and 2 minutes. But all these news sites are picking it up. Recognized news sites like Collider, The Hollywood Reporter, all that kind of stuff. So let's just take this story as if it's official confirmation, and we'll obviously run it again in future episodes if it turns out to not be the case. But 3 hours and 2 minutes, Mike, is this too long for an Avengers movie, or as some people are saying, is it too short?
I think it's a pretty good runtime. I don't think it's too long. I think this movie is going to tie up a lot of ends. It's going to be the end of many stories for our heroes. But I don't think if it was any shorter, I don't think people would appreciate that. I think they want a long movie. I think it's going to deliver regardless of how length it is. But I'd rather the longer the better. But 3 hours, I think, is pretty solid.
Yeah, absolutely agree with all that, because this movie, it's not a movie. It's a cinematic event, and that's not a hyperbole whatsoever. This is the culmination of 21 films. If I've said it once, I've said it a million times. I talk about it all the time on this podcast. This movie, there's not going to be anything like it again for a very long time. This is going to wrap up what Kevin Feige has called the Infinity Saga. He has given a title to the first, while we have our Phase 1, Phase 2, this first iteration of 22 films is being known as the Infinity Saga. So this is going to wrap up the Infinity Saga, and who knows where the MCU is going from here, but we're going to be saying goodbye to some of our favorite characters. We're going to see the torches passed from some of our favorite characters to some of the newer heroes, and yeah, there's nothing like the MCU. And to go into this movie, I know that the big thing was that I really loved was that Kevin Feige was pushing for this movie to be 3 hours, and Disney wanted it shorter because obviously when your movie's shorter, you can play it more often, which means you can make more money. But Kevin Feige was kind of like, the last movie crushed at the box office. We can afford to make this one 3 hours, and maybe they'll sacrifice some ticket sales. But from everything I've seen, from everyone reporting on this story, they're just saying, take my money now. If you're going to think that I'm going to sit down for 3 hours and watch a movie, you're absolutely right. I keep seeing that everywhere. So 3 hours and 2 minutes, I don't think it's too long. I think it's actually the perfect runtime. And if this is the best way to tell the story, by all means, go for it.
Yeah, never cut down. If you can tell the story in 3 hours, then tell the story in 3 hours. If cutting it or making it longer is, if they know what they want, keep that.
Yeah, and speaking of Avengers, our most timely news story happened this morning with, on Instagram, Marvel released a bunch of new character posters. It is, Mike, it is insane this movie's marketing campaign because they're literally not giving us any new content, but anything they give us, I get so stoked over. So I'm going to pull up these posters now on their Instagram. And basically they're posted with the caption, 1 month. We are officially 1 month away from Avengers Endgame. And the title given over all these character posters, they're basically from the shoulders up to the top of the head. They're not like a full body shot. And it simply says, Avenge the Fallen. And the A in Fallen is the Avengers logo that is partially dusted.
Yes.
And so we have two versions of these posters. We have the ones in color, which are our heroes that are still alive. And then we have the ones in black and white, which is our Fallen. So I'm just going to go through all the characters in the living posters and all the ones in the Fallen posters. So for the living, we have Tony Stark, Black Widow, Bruce Banner, Okoye, that's the name of Danai Gurira's character, am I correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Hawkeye, Ant-Man, Nebula, Pepper Potts, Captain America, Captain Marvel, Thor, War Machine, Rocket Raccoon, Valkyrie, which was a confirmation that she's in this movie, which was pretty huge.
And that she's alive.
Wong, and Happy Hogan, so he's also going to be in this movie. And then for the Fallen, we have Black Panther, Star-Lord, Gamora, Doctor Strange, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, Nick Fury, Mantis, Drax, Scarlet Witch, Vision, Loki, Shuri, which was a confirmation that she was also dusted, Groot, Wasp, Falcon, and the Winter Soldier. So, Mike, we actually did get some new news from these character posters. Shuri is confirmed to be dusted, and Valkyrie is confirmed to be alive and in this movie. How does this affect, your excitement for the movie?
I mean, it's cool that we know a little bit more about what actually happened in Infinity War, but is it confirmed that she's dusted for Shuri? I mean, she could just be dead, too, but probably dusted.
If she were to actually be dead, like Loki, I think that they would have shown it on screen.
Off the screen, yeah. Yet again, you think they would? Why wouldn't they have shown her anyway? So it's going to be interesting.
I think that for a while,
something's very different. Something's different going on with her. I think if they wanted to get her dusted, they would have showed her dusted, but they didn't.
Yeah, it's interesting because in the first Endgame trailer,
but I'm happy to have Valkyrie's back. I like Valkyrie.
Yeah, in the first Endgame trailer, we get a shot of Bruce Banner looking at a screen with all the people that are deemed missing, and on the missing screen, we get Peter Parker, which we know is dusted. We get Paul Rudd as Scott Lang, Ant-Man, and then we get Shuri. So the interesting thing was, people were saying, well, we know Ant-Man is alive, but he was just missing because he was in the quantum realm. And we know Peter Parker is dusted, but they don't know that because he was on Titan. So people were like, well, we know Scott Lang's alive, and we know Peter Parker is dusted, and Shuri was the third person we saw, so she could really go either way. So, yeah. I don't know. Some people say there's a greater significance as to why we don't know for 100% if she's alive or in this movie or dusted. I really don't think so. I think that they just didn't show her getting dusted, and then if she wasn't going to be dusted, I think that they felt the need that she would have a role in the movie. So I feel like they put her part of the dusted because they couldn't find a way to include her in the movie.
Yeah, definitely. She also has some very much importance. I mean, she has the information on the Mind Stone.
Yeah, she was a main part of Infinity War. Not necessarily a main role, but she was a crucial role because she was the one that was trying to extract the Mind Stone from Vision. So she is of her importance, so it's interesting to see if she really is dusted or if this is a classic Marvel misdirect, because honestly, at this point in Marvel marketing, we don't know what is what.
Looking at these posters makes me also hope that we get to see some more character combinations that we didn't get to see in Infinity War. No, I know a lot of characters that I would like to see with some of the characters are dead. I would have liked to see Captain America and Star-Lord interact. I don't know if we're going to get that in Endgame due to the fact that he's dusted and Captain America's probably going to have his farewell fight in this movie. But, I mean, there's definitely a lot of character combinations I would like to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you were saying, I think we got a lot of cool combinations in Infinity War, but I would love to see more dynamics. I'm also just very excited for the reunion of Captain America and Iron Man. I recently rewatched Civil War, and I kind of forget how much of a masterpiece that movie really is because it's such a